And Kim and Ray, I believe the phone call is Mr. Scott Ficklin, Senior Project Manager from PSFA, I believe. Scotty, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda?
Madam President, I move to approve and adopt the agenda.
It's been moved and seconded to approve and adopt the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The agenda has been approved. Item 4, presentation and approval of the minutes for the regular board meeting, August 21st, 2024.
Madam President, I move to approve the minutes from the August 21st, 2024 meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the regular board meeting minutes of August 21st, 2024. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Minutes for August 21st have been approved. Public forum. The Board of Education welcomes public comments during the visitors portion of the school board meeting agenda. All comments must be related to a topic on the agenda for that particular meeting. The public comment section of the agenda will be the only time the board takes any questions or comments from the public unless we as a board choose to solicit more information from a person or group attending the meeting on matters specific to the agenda. Are there any public comments?
Just checking it on here. You're good now. You should be good.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to superintendent's report. Mr. Myers.
Madam President, members of the board, good evening. I'd like to start my report with the guests that we have online. This Monday at 11 o'clock, I myself and our business manager Zach here met with the leads from PSFA and Nick and Brad from Stiefel, and we had some discussions on the applications that the board was wishing to submit and so forth. And so we went round and round, and eventually we settled on inviting them in so that you guys can hear from Elise to see what our options are and what we need to do, what first steps are and so forth in moving forward with whatever the board wishes to do. So at this point in time, I don't know, Elise, if you want to take the first lead, and then Brad, you guys can chime in and try to see if they have any questions, and we can discuss what we talked about on Monday.
Absolutely. Madam President, members, my name is Ryan Parks. I'm the Deputy Director at PSFA. On the phone, because we couldn't get him logged in, is Mr. Scott Ficklin. He's our Senior Project Manager. He oversees the field team. And of course, you all know Elise Ramos. I just wanted to introduce the three of us and then turn it over to Elise. So take it away, Elise.
So we've been in discussion with Mr. Meneses and the district for quite some time. As you know, last fiscal year we approved the demolition project, and Mr. Meneses and I have been speaking about potential application for additional projects. Right now, we have a ranking system, and the three schools that you have are ranked as followed. Aldous Elementary is ranked number 82. Clayton High School is ranked 134, and Clayton Junior High School and Kaiser Elementary is ranked number 253. And those indicate what a school is eligible for. Right now, schools ranked 1 through 100 are eligible HVAC, fire alarms, big systems like that could be upgraded and replaced. So right now, Alvis could be potentially applied for, and then the other two schools could receive systems-based upgrades. The thing to keep in mind is if we're long-term planning for eventual replacement, those will have to wait until those creep into the top 100. And the district and the school board does need to keep in mind and decide if we're going to continue to upgrade these buildings or work for replacement. If we go for replacement, we would recommend the district go out for bond first. Get additional funding because all projects, there is a local match component. Right now, the Clayton School District has a local match of 63%. That means for any projects the PSCOC awards, the district would be responsible for 63% of that total project cost. However, there is an opportunity to request a local match reduction, which would potentially bring down that local match to what the district is able to bond to. But first we need to get that bonding component figured out. And so what we're suggesting is a long-term plan so that we work with the bond advisors, the districts, and ourselves to figure out which way the board and the district would like to move before we proceed. And with that, I think I'll stand for questions or turn it over to the bond advisors.
Yeah, maybe just a couple comments here before we dive into the questions. I'm Brad Angst with Steeple Public Finance. We serve as the district's financial advisor. My partner, Nick Kane, has spoke to you all the last couple times. He sends his regards. He couldn't make it this evening. We're really at a spot, a decision point here where the board needs to decide, do you want to continue to maintenance your existing buildings, which would include the fire panels, of course, as a safety item, but look at the next steps, whether it be roof systems and HVAC systems, or is there a desire for the board to, move to a replacement school or potentially a aggregating schools? And if the case is the latter, that you are interested or want to pursue those new schools, it may not make sense to keep investing in these expensive systems for the existing schools. So as Elise just mentioned, there are either way you go, there's the chance to get assistance from the PSFA. They'll help you with that 37% state portion. They can help pay for some of those systems, whether it be the roofing or the HVAC or fire panels. However, if again there's a consensus and there's a decision to try and pursue new schools and stop trying to fix these up, then again we need to look at some long-term planning. It will involve some bonding. The district currently has about $5 million of additional capacity in its current bonding capacity, which means in order for the PSFA to get to these waivers of local percentage, or if you start to exceed the cost that you can afford and exceed the cost of your local match, then you would have to exhaust that first. But with that, I'll pause. Definitely want to give the floor back to PSFA and the board for any specific questions, and we're available as well.
Well, I thought that we had to fill out this application first. I thought that was the very first thing that we have to do before we could move on. Is that correct?
So the application needs to be completed when the district is ready to move forward with a potential project.
So you have to know what your projects are, if you're gonna go out for the bond, all of that, and then you fill out the application.
it's really when is the district ready to proceed with a potential project, and then we can take it to the council for potential approval.
But we really like to be involved this early so that we can help districts navigate through all of these different pieces and parts. So even though we're talking early on, it's really good because we can develop this together with you and really develop a partnership and a strategy. So even if the district isn't ready to apply by this September 30th, that's not the end of the road. There's plenty of more opportunities moving forward. There will most likely be an additional round of awards after this application cycle closes. So it's really it's a work in progress that I think your bond advisor is a big part of, and then we like being part of the problem solving part.
So,
Ms. Leah, there's a application that we are recommending for the fire system, for the fire ambulance. That's a safety item that I think the school needs to proceed with. Superintendent can speak more to that. And that's something that the PSFA can help with as well, as far as matching funds. And just this past week, I think at the ASBO conference, we learned that the PSFA, as Mr. Parks just described, they're going to open up a second application period later in the year, which can allow for more planning time.
okay, because that's what I was going to ask. So we have to know if we're gonna go out for the bond, what our projects are, and everything by the 30th. That was my next question, but thanks for answering.
Yeah, that'd be a lot to accomplish here in 2 weeks, but I do think it should be, kind of project-based decision. There are some funding and financing options available to you, but it's really, do you all want to maintain your historical buildings, or do you want to look at something new? I helped out. I've been with you all for almost a decade or more, and I recall the last election and the facilities committee, the bond committee meeting, and ultimately the decision back then was a lot of the community wanted to keep historic buildings. Now, I'm not fully aware of all the maintenance and other costs that have been going into that over the last several years. So it may be at a point where again, that's a decision for you all to make if that's something you want to pursue, but there are some options if you do.
When you first started speaking, you were talking about how the schools are ranked, and could you say that again or more slowly?
Yes. So let me just quickly explain the ranking if I could, just to help give some context. So PSFA assessors go and assess the facilities on about a 4 or 5 year cycle. And when they do that, they look at every system in the buildings and throughout the school. They update the data in our database. And it includes the ages of each system and the condition of each system, and also includes the adequacy of the educational spaces. And all of that data is combined to create a weighted New Mexico Condition Index score. And then once a year, all of the schools in the state are ranked by that score, from the highest score, which would be ranked number 1, all the way to the lowest score, which is ranked 600 and something. And so all of the schools in the state that don't have a current project are ranked, and that's how we prioritize the funding for the state. So this year, Alvis Elementary is ranked number 82, and that climbed significantly. Last year it was ranked in the 400s, and that's because it was recently assessed last, I believe, May. And so the data was updated and it shot up into the ranking. Clayton High School is currently ranked number 134, and Clayton Junior High / Kaiser is ranked 253.
And so, Madam President and members, what that means is the top 100 is what the council has approved for standards-based projects. That would be a complete renovation or total replacement. And the top 300 schools qualify for what we just described as the systems. That would be inclusive of fire alarm and detection and fire suppression, as well as roof, HVAC, plumbing. So in other words, the systems.
So when you go out for, so say you go out for a bond and you decided you wanted to build a whole new facility or something, right? Then is it, how do you decide like how big your current facility is? Can you use like if you don't want to get rid of your basketball gym, if you want to keep your football, like how does all that work? Is that like all up to y'all? Do you say all that or do you not say that? Like I've heard like different things on like what say so you have to classroom size, how big your cafeteria is, like how does all that work?
Yes, sir. So we do have a gross square foot calculator. We are bound by the adequacy standards with the statute, and so we would plug in the number of students into our calculator, and it illustrates to us what size a school should be within a margin of error. However, we understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all situation, and so as this is way down the line now we're talking, but as you get into design and you have an architect on board that's programming each space out, those allocations start to flesh themselves out a little bit. But yes, there is a gross square foot calculator that would kind of provide a guideline for how big the school should be. And it just depends on which avenue the district decides to go. As far as keeping the old gym, we hear that all over the state. The old gyms are important, we understand that. It really has to do with the function of, is it gonna cost just as much to repair this building as it would be to replace with a brand new facility? Those are the kind of things that we weigh, because if a gym has good bones and we can reuse a lot of the systems that are there, we're not adamant that we have to replace those components. But you also need to kind of think about, where are we going to put these other buildings in relationship to that gym? Those are the kind of things that an architect would help you with. As far as preliminary planning for this goes, again, we'd be happy to kind of help you guide through that, how big that school would be. There's a multitude of options, especially in this district, since you do have basically 2 elementary schools as well as a junior and a high. We have seen a lot of our neighbors, including Mosquero and Des Moines, who have gone to a combination school, pre-K through 12, and that trend is continuing actually into a few other districts. There are quite a few districts that are realizing that they're trying to operate and maintain way too much square footage for the amount of students that they have. And so really consolidating down is reducing your second largest expenditure, which is utilities and maintenance. But again, members, this is entirely up to the district which way they want to go. We support local autonomy and decision making within the guardrails of what we can do by statute.
So you could use one of your, like, add on to an existing building that you have. Like, you could make that into your, like, high school. Like, say you used your junior high and turned it into, like, your high school, and then revamped your Alvis. Like, is that possible, or that's not like something that could be on the table?
Anything's possible when we talk about it, but it all is a function of the ranking. Again, as Ms. Ramos mentioned, It is Aldous that's ranked in that top 100 spot, so it's in the 82. So that is the only one that really quote-unquote qualifies for a standards-based project.
This year.
This year. That doesn't mean that these others aren't gonna rise up in the rank. I've been to your high school campus, it's beautiful. It's got some nice historic buildings on it. I know we actually supported and we were able to secure funding for demolition of the one building kind of in the middle.
We appreciate it very much.
We toured that building, sir, and we're very happy to help. Get that off of your inventory.
So,
But yeah, all of this is good discussion for what is the best direction for the community of Clayton.
can you tell us more about the local match reduction? You kind of touched on that for just a second. Can you explain that to us a little bit better?
Yeah, so every year the state and local match is calculated. There is a very complicated formula that takes into account like land valuations, number of students, gross square footage, a bunch of things. And that all comes to assign a local match for every district. 2 years ago, there was a Senate Bill 131 that temporarily reduced the local matches by a third. And so actually, the non-reduced local share for Clayton is unbelievably at 94%. With the local, or with the reduction from that bill, it's dropped down to 63%. So, if you go for a fire alarm project, for example, you probably wouldn't be applying for a local match reduction for that, because I'm assuming you have, potentially the money for that. You would be responsible for 63% of the project, we would be responsible for the 37%. However, if we were to go for a larger project, say a replacement school, and with, Brad, what did you say their bonding capacity would be? Is it 5?
You're about 5 million right now.
Yeah, so if you guys are maxed out at 5 million and we calculate a new building's gonna cost you X amount of dollars and you're responsible for, let's say, 20, 10, anything above 5, we could approach the council and request a waiver to reduce that local match to what the district could afford after the bond, where the bond is specifically intended to afford and support that project.
Yeah, because it seems like after you're bonded out for however much, I mean, you're bonded out, like, right?
Right.
Like,
Yes, sir.
There are some criteria that we need to make sure that the district meets to be eligible for that waiver. And right now, Clayton does meet that criteria. However, we do suggest going out for bonds to just ensure that the district has funding available. The council appreciates and prefers when a district contributes as much as they can financially to a project, especially these large projects. We've seen a large increase in these requests in the last couple of years, and so they are becoming more and more diligent in ensuring that the districts are really using their local resources to fund as much as they can for these projects.
right, you gotta pitch in,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yes, sir.
sorry, I didn't mean to ask too many questions.
Yeah, those are good questions. Good questions. Anyone?
So then the first step, if we wanted to look at the big project, the first step that the district has to take is go out for a bond election, right?
Well, there's actually some planning before that.
Right.
You would probably want to get back into your facility master plan and get an idea of what, it's not the full design and engineering that you get through with the PSFA later in the process, but you get a preliminary idea of what a consolidated campus might look like, which buildings you would potentially try and keep, where you would maybe put that consolidated campus. So you really got to develop some of the ideas for the architectural design or the layout at least, and get a consensus that that's the route the board wants to pursue. Ryan or Elise, anything to add to that?
Yeah, so, we see that the FMP was just completed by the district, and it was approved by, PSA in April of this year. We do have an issue if the board and the district do wanna pursue potential replacement eventually. The FMP doesn't indicate that that is an option, and that that is something that the district might be interested in doing. So if the district wants to proceed in that route, we would need to modify the FMP and make an amendment to it, to include that. That is a requirement before PSCOC funding, that the FMP, indicates the need for what the district is applying for. So it does say, in Mr. Valdez's, our master planner's, approval of the FMP, that the district's overall strategies were to reduce unutilized and condemned square footage. So that would be demolishing the building that we already awarded, and I think right-sizing the schools as needed. It also has improved the health, safety, and welfare, including accessibility of all students and staff. Renovate and renew existing facilities through preventative maintenance and system upgrades, and renovate and redesign existing facilities so they may be more adaptable to new educational programs and sustainability. And then it goes into further detail listing specific systems that could be upgraded at each school, but it doesn't quite indicate that full replacement is a goal of the district at this time. So Brad's right, if you wanted to start pursuing that route and long-term planning for that, we would need to modify that. Maybe if you wanted to re-engage a planner, start planning which route you would like to take, if you would like to hit these one school at a time, if you would like to wait for the high school to rise in the ranking and how that would work, if you want to consolidate schools. These are questions that you all need to work through and decide before we can figure out which way we're going to go for potential awards.
So let's say that you come up with a plan to build a new school, okay? Is there consideration of like buildings for programs that we already have, like wood shop, band, FFA, welding, stuff like that, so that we don't lose that footage in the new planning? I mean, is that part of that formula too?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, and you know, one of the big drivers right now is career technical education. And boy, that's a tough number to nail down, because each space is so unique, and they require a lot of space for OSHA clearances and other things. So that's what I was alluding to, is the calculator isn't perfect. It gives us a target. As you get into bigger schools, it works better, quite honestly, because the square footage is so great that you are able to package the program within the confines of that area. But we've been through a lot of districts lately, working with them that have big CTE spaces, and we just have to work with the district to understand what that program is in order to get approval, recommendation for approval from our agency to the council, and it works out. It works out pretty well.
That is a good question, because part of what makes Clayton awesome, well, we're all biased, I guess, but part of what makes it awesome is all the things that we're able to offer in such a small school.
Absolutely.
So like, I mean, you know, we have welding, we have band, we have, you know, an awesome like drama class, we've got, you know, an awesome wood shop, welding, everything, and like those are things that you don't want to like lose, because then it just takes away from, you know, what you can offer. That's a big deal, I think.
No, absolutely. The goal is not to reduce services that a school can provide. The goal is to deliver a new modern building that supports all of those programs and creates an environment for 21st century learning. So yes, we totally agree.
Is there ways to utilize like your old building, say like the community wanted to keep the high school, but they wanted, you wanted like an HVAC system, and you wanted to consolidate your school to the high school, which we've already spent a lot of money on, like, is that like, would that ever be an option? Is that kind of thing like an option, or not really? It has to be all like new construction, like, how does that all work?
Again, it depends on, what shape the facilities are in that you are, wanting to keep. Again, as I said, your high school campus is beautiful. I would want a design team to, put in their 2 cents to it right out of the gate. Let's say that we get down this road and we say, yeah, we're gonna do a brand new, let's just say we're gonna do a K-12 combo for Clayton. It wouldn't be just set in stone that you have to just tear everything down and replace it. There would be a lot of studying and coordinating to figure out what really makes sense. What makes sense for the layout of the new school? Can you fit some of those buildings into the greater layout of the new school campus? Those kind of questions come up early on in the design.
And also there would be a study to determine, is this building worth salvaging? How much repairs are needed? How much renovation, upgrades to the systems? How much is that gonna cost versus replacement? All of that will be looked into and factored into the final decisions.
Okay.
I'm really surprised that, Alvis is ranked, higher, even though it's a lower number than our high school.
I am too.
I'm shocked because, with the high school being a historical building and all of the red tape, behind that, it kind of ties your hands, and so you would think that would move it within that 100 area.
Yeah, yes ma'am, we're actually gonna look up, the assessment report here to maybe see what's going on.
So I was looking at this the other day with Mr. Maestas, and again, this building was assessed, in May of last year, and the year before it was ranked in the 400s. And so what it looks like happened, or there's many systems that have, creeped into, the beyond life cycle. The building was built in 1965, looks like the main building, and then there's some portables. So some of the systems, although many of them have been upgraded, some of the systems are originally from 1965, so that makes the score go up. And then there are a few condition issues for the foundation slab, and the fire alarm has a life health safety condition issue, and I can guarantee you that made it shoot up.
So,
Not no
I'm
more.
sorry, are you talking about, which school are you
I'm sorry, Albus.
oh, okay.
He was there when the panel was in its trouble. It's brand new now.
When the panels
So,
are giving us.
yeah, the panels are being replaced at Elvis.
They're brand new.
They're brand
Yeah.
new.
About that. So there is a possibility that next, ranking, that information will be updated and it will go back down.
But that's a good point to think about though. So, if y'all want to look at a replacement, it may not make sense to keep putting improvements in. But if you want to keep your other building, the current buildings, we should maintain them and get them fixed up quickly. But as you make those maintenance improvements, it's gonna lower your score, which works against you on getting the additional state funding for possible consolidated pool.
But see, I'm just saying like, okay, so there's these needs at the high school, but they're saying, oh, but you can't do that because it's a historical building. We won't let you do this or that or whatever, to this building because it's, what is that called? It's called the historical, it's called something.
Information.
Yeah, something.
Well,
But
It
we
looks
can't
like-
do anything, but yet we have to match it locally. You know what I'm saying, we have to match it locally, but then we can't come back and do anything because of that historical aspect.
So I believe the reason, looking at the data, it looks like the high school probably isn't ranked higher than we would expect given its age, because there have been significant upgrades and remodels to the building. In 1999, it looks like a lot of systems were replaced, and then in 2017, there were a bunch, and so that means that all of the systems that were replaced at those times, they were reset at brand new, and so that made the score go down. And so now we're aging up, and so it is creeping up, and that's why it's at 131, because some of the systems are original, but the resetting of many of the systems, not at all buildings, but some buildings,
It should be the two.
is why it's averaging out at 134.
But was that done to all of our buildings? Because like I was saying about like did the shop building get a new roof? Did the FFA welding, because there's a lot of students that use those, did those get
No.
anything, you know what I mean? Like, so that's why I'm just a little shocked, just because we know what the issues are. There were definitely things done, but, so much more.
Yeah.
There are a lot of buildings here, I'm looking at the shop building, there are a lot of systems that are beyond lifespan. And the only condition issue there as a life, health, safety is the fire detection and alarm. So these older systems and the older buildings, they are making the score go up, but enough systems were done at other buildings that made the score go down, and so it's kind of meeting in the middle at 134.
And when did you say that new ranking would be done?
So the ranking is released every year, and we've moved it to the fiscal year, so next July it will be released.
Okay.
I would think that it would be like a concern that if you did end up like you bond out, you do all this, you make a master plan to build a K through 12 school, right? And then, so say you tear down Alvis because it's on top of the list, and then you put it where the existing like Alvis was, right? But then you still have like your junior high, you still have your high school, you still have your football facility that like, unless you can turn that into like a community college of some sort, or like keep your gym somehow. Like, I see how you would have like a monster footprint that you have to pay insurance on and take care of. That seems daunting.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to meet this. I think I heard one member talk about maybe turning some of the buildings over to the community. That is certainly an option. I don't think we would exactly put a new roof on it and then turn it over to the community of Clayton. But those are all discussions that the district and the community can have, right? That, just talking, unintelligently, but maybe, you have a new combo school on another property, and then you just turn the high school facility over to the town of Clayton for adult education or community center use, something like that. I mean, those are the kind of things that you can definitely do. But those are all local decisions. We're just here to support you with what we can support.
I understand. Appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for all that information, that was very helpful.
Absolutely.
So I do see, just scrolling through, there's a lot of buildings, so it takes me a while to scroll through and see the pictures. The original high school building was built in 1922, and it does have, most of the systems are beyond lifespan, because it doesn't look like a lot of them were upgraded. They're all from 1922 or 1938, and there's a few from 2005 and 2012. So a lot of them, most of them are beyond lifespan, and most of them have a condition-based issue. So this one building in particular is probably rising the ranking up a lot. It's just not enough to go into that top 100 right now. But that doesn't mean that it's not gonna get there, because every year, schools get assessed, if they kind of go up and down, And also, when we make awards to schools, those get removed from the ranking because they're no longer in contention, they no longer have needs, because we're addressing those needs, and so naturally, schools will start to go up as they age, as awards are made. If there's additional problems we don't know about, you can inform us, and we can update the database. So it's not gonna be stagnant, and it's not at 134 forever. It could run.
Close, yeah, I mean, it's pretty close to the top 100, I mean, I'm thinking.
In 5 years it will be.
But if
Well,
we
maybe
wait,
in July it would be because of
But
what
here's
you
the
said
issue.
about
are
those
we
other.
gonna lose our time period to apply for the waiver
Well,
for the matching?
no, I don't think so, but here's the other thing you gotta remember. We're about to get those fire panels in there, that's gonna make it go down even more.
So the
We have
fire
a choice.
panels will make it,
We have to have the fire panels, just like at the junior high, that's the one thing they're recommending that I do the application for, which I already have ready, is for the fire panels, so estimation was gonna be like 333,000 to get them done, I did it for 400,000. Our share is gonna be 264,000, that would be our 63% that we do, and then they would pay the rest of it if we get approved, that is. But we have to have fire panels because it's an emergency, tool that we have to have. And so the minute we get the high school ones done, that's another improvement you made to the high school, so it's not gonna be coming in the 100 anytime soon.
did you hear what he said? Could you hear what he said about the fire panels making the ranking probably move in the
So,
opposite way that we would want it to?
so it will probably drop the ranking slightly. What I've seen in the past year or two is several other districts have been doing exactly this. They needed fire alarms because this is a life, health, safety issue, and it's not something you should kick the can down too far. And the fire alarms aren't quite as expensive as roofs and HVAC, so it went down slightly, but it didn't drop. We have seen other schools, one school used their ESSER funding and replaced all of the HVAC in the building, and they went from the 60s down to the 400s. So HVAC and roofs will, bam, they'll go down. But the fire alarm, it's not as significant because it's not as expensive, it's the expensive systems that go.
Oh,
In the top, in that 100,
yeah.
yeah.
I feel like we gotta go for like a bond, like, I mean, we have to have,
Because, well, we can't afford to any other way.
it's the only way that we can do any of this. I mean, we have to have a roof, like, we have to have HVACs, we like have to have all this stuff. I don't know how we can avoid it
So if it,
any other way. I mean, we gotta do it, whether we want a new facility, a complete new facility, or like, I mean, we gotta revamp what we got. I mean, there's no question, in my opinion, but I'm just, that's just my opinion.
you're right. So,
Without putting more than we have to into the high school.
Right.
right, so, so if we go through the process and it takes to July, or we're not approved for anything, and we see this move, do we have to go back and change anything we've already done, like going out for the, I mean, I know we'll still have to go out for the bond and stuff, but, I mean, you have to show that you've made every effort to generate the money, right?
Yeah, so the last 2 years, we kind of did an experiment, we had the application season open all year long, there was no deadline. And what that ended up doing is a lot of districts were applying before they were ready. And so by the end of the year, I ended up not making half of the awards because they weren't ready in terms of the finances or planning and so what we would prefer and what was better for the district is to not submit an application before you're ready. To really go and do all your homework, really figure out what you want and need, make the finances happen, and then come for the awards, so we can just hit the ground running and there's no, let's go, let's wait. And so, you're right, if you wanna go for the fire alarm, because you wanna prioritize that now, we could go do that right now. You could apply for any of these schools for that now, and then finish those projects out. You'll drop back into the ranking, see how it works. Or you could wait it out, or you could pick which schools you wanna do the fire alarm. If you wanna wait on the high school, because you wanna see if it's what it does in July, you could do that. There's so many options, and that's why it's really just important that we work on those.
So you talked about criteria for the waiver earlier.
Yeah.
Can you send us that? I mean, or maybe you already did, but.
Yeah, and
Is that what
To be honest with you, we're in discussion right now with, some government entities to potentially modify these. But right now, they are, first is that the district does not have sufficient bonding capacity to basically complete the project. And if that's the case, the district has to have over 10, a mill levy over 10. And then the second option, which is where we'll aim for, is for smaller districts, it has a min count less than 800. The free and reduced lunch is over 70%. The state share of the non-reduced is less than 50%. So either way, with the reduced or non-reduced from the SB 131, you're over 50%, so you qualify. And then the mill levy has to be over 7. So although right now you are over 7 and you meet all 4 of those criteria, we're concerned that you may not have sufficient bonding to support like a replacement school. That we suggest going out for bonds so that you have a chunk of change to contribute to the project.
Right. And if you do pass a bond, if you take your capacity to $5 million, like what's that gonna change, like everybody's taxes wise? Like, do you know that off the top of your head kind of thing? Like, I guess, is it that kind of?
Back to you, Brian. Brad, back to you, Brad.
Could you say that again, please?
Yeah, so if we raise our 5 million or current capacity to 5 million, if we raise like the bond to go ahead and go out for a bond, then like how much is that gonna affect like people's taxes? There's a lot of ranchers, I'm one, like, and that's gonna be like the big question that your community has, right? So like that's like the thing that you have to have nailed down, gotta have an answer for that one. So, what are the ins and outs of all that?
That's right. I mean, it depends on the amount. If it's the full 5 million, 5 million is gonna be different than, if you're just doing some of these systems. We did some preliminary numbers, for about a 2.7 million bond to get you up over the 10 mil mark. So for about every three mills that you increase, it's gonna be $100 a year on $100,000 of property value, of market value. So the answer is that it depends, but we can run those numbers and show you what it's gonna be, for the full 5 or for different pieces and of that amount.
And that's just for like 3 years, right? And then it goes back?
The PSFA and PTOC wants you to, they want to see you commit to at least 4 years of being above 10. That's kind of what the measurement of being at capacity is on that mill levy. And I'll let Ryan and Elise chime in on that, but yeah, typically it's at least 4 years above 10.
It's a little more complicated than that, I guess I would say, because basically when we go with you to the council to apply for this award, you have to be at that 7 or 10 mil mark at the time of that application. We are trying to set a policy right now that says when you get that local match reduction approved, you're locked in for what you were at that time of the application. So I know Brad and other bond folks have taught us a lot about bonding and mills, and it really ebbs and flows, and it's working with PED on those marks, right? So we're trying to make it a little less complicated than what Brad just described. It's really at the time of the award or at the time of the ask. So let's say you had all the money for the design phase. We set our award up in what we call a 2-phase step. So the initial award is just for planning and design funding. And then the bigger piece is when we come back after we get bids for construction phase funding. and let's say, like I said, let's say you had the money for the design phase, but you're gonna need for sure the state to pitch in more for the construction phase, because that's the bigger chunk of money. It's at the time of the ask for the local match reduction. That's what's important, is that we need to hit that mark at the time that we request that local match reduction from the council.
I got you. So,
And so one more thing, typically those two phases, this is for full school replacement for the standard phase. As Ryan said, the first phase is planning design, that's 10% of the total project cost. So some districts, depending on their bonding capacity, they can afford their local match of that 10% of the total project. Some can't, and that means we have to ask for that local match reduction for both phases. But if the district can afford that local match for phase one, we only need to request the waiver for the construction funding.
so sometimes you can bond out to your capacity, then you can hire your architects, and then that's what the money you use to hire your architects and all the planning, and then from then on, then y'all could help us get the waivers.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You'll definitely need one for the construction funding, and then we would have to crunch numbers to figure out how much everything would cost. It would depend on which schools and everything, but we could crunch numbers later and, to figure out what those dollar amounts could be.
One thing we do suggest, we've had a few districts that put all their eggs in that design phase basket, and we've been recommending to districts that they leave a little bit, they split the money up between the two phases so that you have some funding available for that construction phase, because there's things that by statute the council just can't fund, like a scoreboard or, things that aren't tied to educational purposes. And so this kind of goes back to what you were asking at the very beginning of this discussion. We don't want to hamstring a district and say, well, no, you can't have a scoreboard because we're paying for everything. We'd rather the district have some money for that second phase so that they say, well, this is important to us, and we understand that the council can't fund this athletic component, but we have a little money that we can put towards what we call above allowable funding.
So I was just thinking back to this CTE push that you were talking about. I know that there's been schools that were like pilot schools for like preschool programs or different stuff like that. Is there funding for schools who are already, like, we are sailing in the CTE direction, and I'm just trying to, see if there's anything else out there for us that, we're already doing, some good things, and, I don't know, is there anything else like we would qualify for, because we are doing those things that there's that big push for?
There aren't on the books as of now. We have a couple programs like for pre-K, because pre-K is also becoming really important. So if a district wanted to add a pre-K classroom to the end of their elementary school wing, we have a program for that. We don't have anything specifically for career technical education. However, was it 2 years ago or just last year, there was a House Bill 505 that earmarked $75 million from our fund that was distributed to all 89 districts. Clayton did get some of that funding, and there were two earmarks. There was one specifically for security, and there was another that was more broadly for pre-K CTE or the maintenance of school buildings. And I can't remember, the minimum that districts got was $50,000 for the security and $100,000 for the other portion. And each district had to accept that award and tell us what they were gonna spend it on, and I had to tell them, no, you can't buy a maintenance truck with this money, it has to be to maintain the building. So there was some money earmarked. It certainly wasn't enough to, build a whole CTE center or anything, but it is important to the legislators. I know that Representative is Chatfield your representative? I know he's on our task force. I've had a lot of discussions with him about this in particular. And so it is on the minds of the politicians, but we lowly workers here at the agency are just bound by our current programs and statutes.
Okay.
This is my last question. So if, for us to, be bonded to capacity, does it have to be 2.7? Does it have to be 5? Like, what's the deal that you go for to be like at our capacity?
I mean, if it was today, it would be a lower number, it'd be 3.4. If we're talking about in the spring or next application cycle, it's gonna be closer to the 5.
Okay.
And typically, again, that's kind of there's kind of an arbitrary metric right now. We've been trying to make sure it's above, at least above 90% of your capacity. But because you pay off your debt every year, and sometimes twice a year,
Gets lower,
it's declining. The capacity grows each year, and the amount you have outstanding declines each year, so.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions? Anyone, Tim, did you have any questions or?
Any of you guys got any questions?
That was great information.
You guys were awesome. Thank you so much.
We appreciate
Well,
it.
and Madam President, we really like in-person meetings, so if you all chew on this for a while and you want us to come up, we're more than happy to come to a work session
Oh, that'd be great.
where we can
Okay.
hash things out again. I think you guys have a lot of thinking to do and what's your community gonna support, that kind of thing. But we love this, we love problem solving, we love helping districts out with these kind of questions and problem solving. So, Mr. Maestas, let us know as you're moving forward. We're happy to come up.
Great.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Are you in that meeting? Or-
Mm-hmm. Because we don't need anybody else on, right?
I wonder if you could send like a fact sheet with attached to like a little survey out to the community, like, do like here's the facts, this is what we're facing, these are all the repairs, this is all the money issue, this is all this, here's what, you know what I'm saying?
I think that's a good idea.
I mean, just,
buildings need to just fall down.
That's kind
I
of
know.
what happened,
That's.
so we fix all the guts, but what about the bones?
right,
We keep putting, I'm gonna say it bluntly, we keep putting lipstick on a pig's butt.
Well,
That's what we keep
and,
doing.
right, and that costs a lot of money,
And it's,
that lipstick.
that's all we're doing.
Yeah.
It's super expensive.
and who-
I would think high school would have been higher because they don't see, it's like if you see a person, a young person, but internally they have cancer. Our high school has cancer all over. And
You know, and
That's
the more,
very
the older it gets, the more, nobody
Just
has
a-
one. What happens whenever we're left with this shell of a thing that nobody wants?
Well, that's
and we
why,
can't do nothing with it.
that's why, like, people will drive by and say, oh, what a pretty campus, looking at the young person,
Looking at the,
and, or even the old person, looking at the shell, and, oh, it's so nice, and it is beautiful. I mean, we don't argue that, but it's just, these kids, these teachers sweating,
It's not
you all
serving its
sweating.
purpose.
It is not conducive to learning in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's
And
just,
And if they knew that, they may be like, oh, yeah, we've got the bond, you know? I mean, I just think if you are transparent and you show them, this is what is needed, and it's very expensive, and maybe even I don't know if you put a dollar amount to it, I don't know, but I don't know how you could, or that might be a lot of work, but, and then just say, would you be in favor of, you know, I don't know how you would word those questions, maybe.
And maybe we need to look at some of our options for plans for this building. You know, we need to look at colleges around, or the city, or,
That's gotta be one of the first things,
Yes.
to do something like this, like,
Well,
yes.
because
is find out who wants to take it on.
we did the trade in kind with the county before, and they were very gracious and stuff, but they're very busy too. So it's hard to put like, we need this, you know, track bladed or whatever, and they're like, well, we're blading snowy roads, or, you know, so it's kind of hard to fit that, but yeah, there has to be a purpose for this. This cannot just sit here and be another condemned building in this community.
On our books.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing, we can't afford it
Yeah,
anyway.
on our expense, right, with our insurance and.
But I'm scared in like 15, 20 years from now, like, how much is all the maintenance on this gonna cost then?
Or are you going to be able to, because they're gonna tell you, oh, no, it's a historical building, you
Right,
can't do that.
exactly, you get, your hands are triple tied,
Right,
and that makeup for your pig gets really, really, really expensive.
Well, the other obstacle is there's asbestos in our schools, every one of them. And that's not good.
I mean, I don't know how that doesn't like blow you up.
well, do they know about that? Do they know?
Maybe scratch a hole in some wall somewhere. Get it like exposed.
We'll be talking about that. in just a
We'll
minute.
touch on that after, but I had to throw that out there, because
Well, I'm glad you did, because, I mean, I feel like that's something they need to know. I mean, and if they don't know, we need to make sure they know.
It would be nice to know if in there, when they come in and evaluate, do they evaluate everything other than just the guts of the thing, the fire panels, the water? Is it
they just
condition
walk.
of the walls or just
Yeah, they make a walk and take pictures.
foundation, is it?
Yeah, that's my thing, is like, I don't, yeah.
They don't do it.
They did say they did a foundation like thing, that's why the Alvis was so
Alvis,
high,
right.
because of the foundation for it.
Yeah, that's big, but I wonder,
Their inspections are
This
very
thing doesn't even
vague.
have a foundation,
Are
my
you
grandma's house
saying
doesn't have one.
the asbestos issue just being bigger than a foundation.
That's a big, big deal.
me to pull your dad up on TV?
Okay, I guess we'll move on.
It's not.
Okay, so, Madam President, members of the board, on Tuesday, September 10th, Ms. Gaither, Zach, and I met with Benjamin Neff and another young lady from the Fed regarding the family index budget and how money can be utilized, so I'll let you talk about it. I just want to let them know that we met with them. Okay, and then, Mr. Zach and I, we attended the, New Mexico Hasbro Fall Conference this last week, from Wednesday through Thursday. Usually I don't, attend these, but because Zach was, new to the position, I felt like I needed to go with him and introduce him to people and show him around, and we had a really good time. We met a lot of, people that we use for him in the future, and, we figured out hopefully how we could, move our extra money so that, we can encumber it by the 30th, so that we'll have it there for when we need it to cover for the fire panels here at the high school. And so, you know, and I don't know if you want to add anything to it, your experience?
Yeah, so with the conference was super cool. I met a lot of people from PED, all the vendors we deal with every day. It's weird matching their faces with their voice. They don't look anything like that. Nice thing.
I'll tell you.
But then with like Mr. Meneses was talking about with the ESSER funding, so our ESSER 3 money is what we're paying our fire panels out of, but that expires on September 30th. So we're trying to encumber it, and we're gonna move salaries into that fund so we can pay salaries, which saves us money out of operational, so we don't lose that money that we have in ESSER. So we learned that at the conference as well.
So we met up with George there, so it turned into a really bad comedy show. We had a good time, that's all that matters. Our cafeteria event's finally here, we have 2 of them now, so we finally got here. Our backboard that was broken on the outdoor courts has arrived, and Tim and Paul have already put it up, so.
Great job, team. Great job, Paul.
On Monday, 16th, 2024, the ADs and I met with Mr. Prather, Bank of Clayton. Ms. Lee's had called me and let me know that they were wanting to donate, scoreboard or what has it. And so I think in the packet, in the computer there, you'll see the graphics of the scoreboards that, they're looking into putting in there. So they are gonna be doing 2 scoreboards at Yellow Jacket Gym, and then they're gonna replace the one at the football stadium also. So, we just,
All three?
all 3, yeah.
Sweet.
So, they'll do the main, scoreboards, they're wireless and so forth, and so if we wanted to add anything like, anything digitally signing or something else, what they're suggesting is that we go out to other maybe vendors and see if they would like to sponsor like a shot clock or whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. And so, and then we met up with him again, just, what was it? Tuesday, Monday, where he brought the pictures of the clocks and there was just a little bit of a discussion and, about, Yellow Jackets being 1 or 2 words, and we decided to go with the 1 word. And then, the question was, where we have the home team on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. I was outvoted, I always see it on the right-hand side, but we're gonna go with Jackets on the left and Guests on the right. So that's the only thing, and so he's gonna go ahead and move forward and get them done. Don't know when we'll even get the football, one in before the season's up, but I'm pretty sure we can probably get the basketball one in before the basketball season starts. But those are at work, and I don't know if you guys had a chance to look, they're in the, it should be in the packet, right?
My computer's not working.
They look nice.
I got you, I'll put them on the TV.
Thanks, Cassie.
Sure it's not
Look, it says personal settings not responding.
So,
There's one.
there you go, there's that one. That's gonna be for, the main side of the Yellow Jacket on the home side. I think it's that one, right? And then the smaller one, no, that's the one on the.
main one.
That's the main one, because it has all the fouls and so forth over on the right-hand side as you go into Yellow Jacket Gym. And then the other one that she showed before is the smaller one, it's on the other side. And then the football one,
That's the football one, right?
he's gonna also, on the Bank of New Mexico, he's gonna put 2 Yellow Jackets on each side,
Cool.
so.
What does the one look like going in the Huff? Or is it one in the Huff?
No, they're not going
No,
to they're both.
Huff is a different
Ah,
one.
I see.
We got one there too that was donated that I gotta, reach out to, was it Morgan? And see when we can get it in so we can install that one too.
We already have that.
Uh,
We already have that.
Morgan told me that it was supposed to get here sometime in October, so.
But it's been ordered and it's
It was donated from another school that got a new one, it's still in great shape, and so she jumped at it and called and says, we wanted it, and, Tim and I and whoever, or Tim and whoever will install it, and go from there, and take care of that one that we have done with disaster,
great.
so.
Awesome.
Okay, and we'll be talking a little bit more about the next one, but Havana Environmental will be coming in to conduct asbestos sampling and possibly do our 3-year inspection of Tim. And this needs to get done in order for the contractors to continue with fire panels at the high school. But we will talk about that on the board communications a little more. On Thursday, September 26th, I will be traveling to Raton to the quarterly RDC meeting. It'll be at 9 o'clock. I'll leave here about 7. Should be back hopefully by 2:33. On Monday, September 30th, I will be traveling to Roswell, but I will be traveling to San Juan. And then I will go with George from there to Roswell for the 880-day calendar hearing finally after some, I guess, mediation and so forth. So it's scheduled for 2 p.m. And then on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, I will be traveling with some other superintendents, hopefully all over the state. We have a face-to-face meeting with our new secretary designee Padilla, Mr. Marty Padilla from Santa Rosa, the president of the Superintendent's Association. He set this up to get a face-to-face with the new secretary.
Gosh, how many new secretaries are you go to? I didn't realize we were getting another.
Yeah, Arsenio,
Wow.
from what I understand, Arsenio had applied for the position as president of New Mexico State, and so in order for him to apply for that, he can't be holding another And then I put CMS strategic plan, I could not find an existing one, so I've, looked around to see what other districts have and so forth, and working on one. That's not, like I said, I'm just working on one. Once I get to a point, I will share it with you guys, and you guys put your 2 cents in, because that was one of the things that, actually not your 2 cents in, it should be your 90% in, because I'm talking to, other superintendents and districts that the strategic plan is something that, I guess is supposed to be done by the board, but, I'm doing all the legwork and I'll share it with you guys, and then you guys, you can agree, disagree, add whatever you want to it, just so we come up with something for the district. And hopefully, I should be done with that, hopefully tomorrow sometime, with what I have and everything, and then I can share it with you guys, and then maybe we can get it approved for the October. Good enough?
So do we need to we'll have to schedule like a work session for that too?
It's up to you, I
think we will have to because we have to, I mean, you can come up with one or find some examples and then
I mean,
we come up with our own together.
I think you'll like what I have already. Like I said, it's just a matter of going over it and whatever you like, keep, whatever you don't like, throw out, and add whatever you want to put into it. I think a lot of it already addresses the things that you guys have in mind, but like I said, it's just something preliminary that I'm trying to get done so we can get it done. And so, like I said, I should be done with it tomorrow, but you never know when it's power again, so.
Don't say that.
Don't
Do not say that.
And so that concludes my report. I will go ahead and turn it over to the administrators.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Madam President and members of the board. For Alvis, our current student enrollment is 148 students. Alvis completed our iReady testing on August 30th. I believe you have results in your board packets digitally, and then Cassie has those pulled up over here. This first one is our iReady reading. So our kindergarten through 4th grade test in iReady reading, and then also our kindergarten through 2nd test in iStation as well. I just pulled up iReady. If you can kind of look here and see as far as your iReady reading scores, this is the entire school. This is grades K through 4th grade. That lower end on that red side with the little markers that indicate 3 or more grade levels below where students should be. The red is 2 grade levels below. Our yellow, which is a pretty big chunk of our kiddos, 1 grade level below. That green is early on grade level, and then mid or above grade level is the green striped on there as well. And so what we utilize this data for is whenever we meet for our monthly PLC, we look at the data and say, okay, let's look at our students, how they performed. The great thing about iReady is it groups our students based on need and intervention. So we have our hive time that we do daily, about 30 minutes. Our teachers are easily able to say, all right, group 1, students A, B, C, D, this is the focus skill that we're working on for that intervention, of course, to try to regain some of those gaps there. So as far as reading goes for beginning of the year, there's that. And then for math, same thing, we tested grades kindergarten through 4th grade. Here, you can see a large portion of our students are scored beginning of the year 1 grade level below where they're at, and then that's where we also utilize the data to help inform instruction. One thing that focus areas as far as, you know, working to get these students on grade level, right, that's, or any kind of growth. I do have an iReady representative coming this Friday for our PLC, and she'll be working with my staff to talk about, you know, how do you disaggregate data? How do you inform your instruction? How do you utilize, we utilize the iReady math curriculum. And so she's going to help answer questions, especially for our newer teachers who maybe haven't taught utilizing that curriculum. And even our veteran teachers still have some questions about, you know, are we implementing this curriculum the way it should be done? And answering any questions there. So I have that set up. She'll be coming in Friday afternoon to work with our staff on that to address any things as far as that goes for iReady. Let's see. We are currently promoting our Albus Book Blast until September 27th. So what students are able to do is they either can text or email 10 people. And they ask these 10 people, hey, would you donate to our book blast? Any proceeds that are donated, our students can get up to 10 free books. And they are designated, like there's a kindergarten library, a first grade, second grade. We had 45 students the first day who were able to get 10 people, you know, that they reached out to, and they got this little goodie box that had 3 treasures. And so today, of course, we didn't have school, but I got an email and we had about 10 more students. And so we'll be doing that until September 27th. As far as our entire school participating, 30% of our students have participated. The goal initially is to try to get 50% of our student population to try to reach out. And it's just a good way for kids to get free books at home. Let's see, 4th grade, we attended the Chamber of Commerce 9/11 Memorial event, and our 4th graders did a phenomenal job. They led the Pledge of Allegiance. They represented Albus very well, were very respectful, and so we did that. 3rd grade was supposed to go to Farm Safety Day today out at the Union County Fairgrounds, but luckily Talisha called me from the extension office and they're rescheduling hopefully for next Wednesday.
Great.
So our 3rd graders will be able to still participate in that next Wednesday. Tomorrow, the New Mexico ECECD will be conducting a site visit to tour our daycare facility. This is it's a courtesy visit. They will be coming out, his name is Dion, and he'll be coming from Santa Fe. Kim Legant is supposed to be here, as well as Barbara Tedrow. Those are the 2 that are helping me work to see what we need to do to get our daycare facility certified. So they will be here tomorrow. Dion from the ECECD, it'll really let us know, is the facility we have, is it up to par with the requirements for a child care facility and getting it certified through the state. Kim Legant will be here to kind of help facilitate that. I've asked him to join along as far as answering any maybe questions as far as needed for building. And then Barbara Tedrow, she's the one that knows all of the verbiage and lingo, and sometimes they'll say, you need to do this, but it's not necessarily a have to do this. We're pretty limited on our facility and what we have so far for our daycare, so I'm hoping maybe they'll understand that and we can get some money and start generating in if we can get it certified.
Great, that's awesome.
That's all I have. Any questions or anything?
Thank you for jumping on that.
For sure.
I know that was not easy.
I've had help. Kim Legant's been really helpful, and so has Barbara, so.
Great, that's awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yes.
Evening, Madam President and members of the board. I will go over my data real quick, and then I will go over the family income index that he had mentioned. Same thing, we did 5th, 6th, this is just Kaiser, right?
Yes,
Okay. And this is
math.
math, because I cannot see because I'm blind as a bat. And as you can see, a lot of our students are at least, are 2 to 3 years behind. So we're working on that. In Kaiser, they have, for math and reading, they both have 30 minutes. Each class has at least 30 minutes a day targeted just towards interventions. So that is what they can be working on in that time, is like seeing exactly where their struggle is. I know Ms. Jacobs was talking about possibly looking into some vocabulary, because on the reading aspect of it, a lot of them are low in vocabulary. And we all know that when you read, if you don't know what the word means, you're not really going to understand what you're reading, so therefore that's why some of the reading is low. They did really good on phonemic awareness, yay. And for phonics, there's only a few that are struggling in that area, which by this age, there shouldn't be many that are struggling with phonics, but you know, we celebrate wherever we can find celebrations. And then for junior high, we also have, for interventions, when they're struggling, this is their reading. No, this
That is bad.
Math.
Say that again.
That is bad.
It is.
Really bad.
But you know what's
Usually at
crazy?
the beginning, it really is.
And you know, honestly,
3
I'm
grades
just,
below?
I mean, summer.
I know the kids don't really take tests, and they choose not to take tests very well.
well, and they choose this is very easy to click, and I bet you if we go back and look at the data, some of them probably spent maybe 20 minutes and said, oh, I'm done. I mean, we can't make them sit there and do it. We can say, come on, guys, this is really important. I need you to work hard. I need you to do well.
Right.
But as I was talking with Stephanie, she said that she notices a lot too, that as they get older, like my kids, they spend more time, like whenever it comes to the end of the year on the state test, whichever abbreviation it is this year, it depends. They do much better than they do on these, because by this point, they're kind of over it. You know, doing the iReady three times a year.
Well, and are they using iReady more than just for your assessments?
They do it in
Short
classrooms
circles?
more in elementary than they do in
See, that-
junior high and high
I
school.
wonder if they're just like, oh, I know, you know.
Yes. But looking, yes, it does not look great. But whenever, and I did not bring my new the state data, but when you look at it, they did much better on the state than they did on the beginning of the year.
I see.
And it doesn't, I mean, so.
But a bunch of them are passing, I mean, it's like, not like they're behind.
They're passing in class.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they're passing the work that's being done in class.
Right.
But again, too, that is also teaching. I mean, if a child's struggling, regardless if they're on an IEP or if they're on whatever, we're going to help them so they are successful. We're not just gonna go, oh, you know, I mean, we teach and we give them modifications and we help them any way we can.
Right.
So they are behind, but that's not some of it's just, the kids just don't have it coming in.
And you'll see a great difference come mid-year maybe.
Yes,
So
because maybe
that's
they'll take it more
the
serious
first, you know?
there. And by the end of the year, you know, because when they come in, no, they're not wanting to take tests the first 2 weeks of school.
Yeah.
Mostly that age group.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, I mean, it's that awkward age group. It's just not always so fun.
Right.
But also the junior high, they did phonemic awareness, and also the ones that are phonics is very limited as well. So that is good. But also, again, vocabulary is something that is a struggle, probably across the board.
Are you talking like vocabulary from what they're reading or like actually vocabulary?
Like vocabulary in the reading,
Okay.
like not knowing what the words mean.
Yeah.
So that is the data from iReady. So to go on to how many kids I have 123 total, 61 in junior high and 62 in Kaiser. Pictures were supposed to be today, but we rescheduled them for October 1st. And I did put that out on Facebook so parents know and I let my teachers know. When the Family Income Index people came, I think in the years, when we very first started getting this, it was told that it had to be used for math and science. Well, they found out that if they do that, people aren't gonna use the money, and, because it's very hard to tie it to just math and science. So the parameters have kind of opened up for us, and we don't just have to use that money for math and science anymore. So they told us so many ideas on ways that we can use it for like getting people in, like family engagement. I wrote it all down.
Like a community night to get the
Community
parents more
night.
involved, to
Cool.
like
Yes.
see what we have going on at the schools.
Or even
So like, you
teaching.
know, how parents go home and they're like, oh,
My kid doesn't.
yeah, you're not doing anything at school to help my kid. So I'd get them in there to realize we actually do work for them, try our best.
That is cool.
Or even they even said that like they had someone come in and did taxes. Like they did all the, like H&R Block or someone donated their time to do the taxes for all the parents, and like EAs and Aides watch the
What a
kids, so then they would
concept.
have like, stickers so that their taxes can be done. So I mean, there's lots of ways that we can utilize the money.
Maybe to get them to come in and fill out that form whenever we need it, so that we can increase that to not just 50% or whatever that. Free reduced,
Oh, I don't think this has anything to do with that.
but I mean, that, if you don't get them to do it.
Oh, to get them in the door,
Right.
yes. This is targeting, and before we thought that we could only utilize it for junior high kids, since it is like just junior high. But they said that even though we're still reaching more kids, like little kid, like if they have Kaiser siblings, it's okay if they're involved as well, because before it was very, kind of hard to understand exactly how to use it. But they've opened it up, so there's lots of possibilities on ways to get more involvement into the school,
That's great.
so.
And
And
it'd
there's
be
like
so awesome to
2 or
do
3
this
people that were like, oh, the 2 people that came and talked to us, were like, we've got so many ideas, and one of them is more, she's geared more on family involvement, that's what her, like, that's what she wants, is more family involvement in schools, so she's gonna be sending me some ideas on things that we can do,
That's great.
so.
That's great.
And we had volleyball last week. And we have volleyball tomorrow, they go to Tucumcari. And then on Monday, we have a football game and volleyball here against, Elkhart, Kansas. So,
What time are those on Monday?
the volleyball starts at 3, the first volleyball's at 3, the football's at 4, and then the other volleyball will go right after the first volleyball, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent, my fellow colleagues. Enrollment at, I'm sorry, I have to stand up, but that's just the way I do. Enrollment is 120 currently. Homecoming week was, I felt like a good success. We did hit one bump with our dance. Didn't happen, but I've spoken to students. I said I'm working on it. So what I'll have to do is not count on certain people and do it myself. So that's what I'm gonna do. What I'm looking at is the following Saturday after Cloudcroft, Saturday night. If I have to DJ it myself, I will, but it's gonna be old 80s. They may not have as much fun, but you know, that's what I do. So, but otherwise, I think we had a lot of, you know, a lot of good involvement. The students were really involved. They had a great time. Some of our days were amazing, like when they did the anything but backpack day. I don't know if you heard about that. A kid brought a car door to carry his books in, and cages. And it was pretty funny. Really, what was it? A wheelbarrow. Someone brought their little siblings, but I didn't let them stay. iReady testing was scheduled for today, so we'll have to move that to next week, because if we started tomorrow, we might have to finish on Friday, and it's a short day, so we'll scheduling it for next week, so I'll have some data for you when we come back the following month. I had my first meeting with the community schools, where we're gonna partner with community, where I'm gonna start building my committee now, actually. And what I'm gonna have is like 2 members of the community, 2 students, 2 staff members, myself. So I'm starting to look for those right now, and I'll ask my team to help me build those as we go along. What that is we're building a partnership with the community. A lot of that attendance challenge that I did, it falls right into place with that. So we can really just use them to help us. And, you know, I'm kind of used to having committees. When I was in Colorado, we had a committee for everything. So I think it's really going to be a good thing to bring in the community to help them, help us, and then partnership. Because what ultimately our goal is to help these students be successful. And we need it. The old proverb, takes a village to raise a child, right? So this village can raise our children. So that'll be, next month I'll have a little bit more on that again, after the first round. The attendance has actually increased. We've been doing very well on our attendance. What I do is I call home, me or my secretary, we call home when we see somebody's absent. One student that was notoriously absent hasn't been absent since. So it's been successful. He's a senior that needs to graduate. And so another thing that I do, and I've talked about this with some people, is that I'm working on a culture here that's a little different. Mr. Maestas and I went to Raton, and we discussed it before, for our, tell me the term again, sir. Restorative justice, thank you. And so it's a whole different way to discipline. It's not really ISS suspensions because we want the kids here. It's another way to find a way to teach them what's right from wrong. And so we do all these steps first, and one of the steps, for example, is one of my students was disrespectful in class, throwing paper at the teacher. So he gets to go teach 7th grade, actually tomorrow, and he's gonna write about his experience with that.
That's great.
Yes, sir. So I've actually asked the teacher of the 7th grade, let the kids be a little disrespectful to him. Don't keep them in line. Let him feel what it feels like. So we're gonna let that happen. So that's the kind of things we're trying to do. But I also walk around every classroom, walk in every door, peeping in the doors all the time. They see me. They're not allowed to have their head down. If they're sleeping or have their heads down, I call them in. First I wake them up. If it continues, I call them in, we call home. So we're not gonna be sleeping. If they fail, it's because they just don't get it. Okay, because I'm on them. I'm checking grades every week. I brought every student in with below 75 or below last week. This week we were shortened. I was supposed to do that today, but hopefully I can get on it tomorrow. All of our drills, our final drill for the first 4 was very successful. It was an evacuation drill. But we are still continuing under fire watch, so we have to continue those. And we continue to use the panic button. It helps us during our fire drills or our emergency drills. Okay, athletics. Football, currently ranked number 4. I don't know why we went down. I guess because of that loss. It's kind of crazy, but it was a good team that beat us. And so we're ranked 4th, but that's okay. The other teams ahead of us are still undefeated and good. We have a bye week this week, and our first district game is on the 28th at home against Cloudcroft. And then our last home game, October 18th against Escalante, and that's going to be our senior night. So that's coming up pretty fast. So senior night will be October 18th against Escalante. Halftime during homecoming I thought went really well. Also, I love the fact that we had a community member volunteer to fly the helicopter in with the game ball. We did that in Colorado when he said that to me. I thought it might have been a tradition here. I said, that's kind of crazy. That's really cool. Yeah, let's do it. So I thought it looked good. I enjoyed it. I hope the fans enjoyed it, because what we want to do is turn all of our athletic events into fan-friendly, enjoyable events. So, and our homecoming court looked great. The only thing I wish we could have had a second half to the game, but you know, hey, that's just the way it goes. Volleyball team plays in Cimarron this weekend. They are in a tournament. The pool play is Friday, 8, 9:30, and 10:30, with one tournament game followed after, depending on how they play on those pool games. And one note about the tournament coming up this weekend. We got an email just today from Cimarron that they've had several threats. I guess a lot of schools have been having threats recently, and they've had some. And so they have sent out some guidelines to everybody about bag searches and stuff like that. So the coach supposedly sent that out. I'm going to get sure of that tomorrow and make sure that we follow whatever they have going on over there. So that's all I have. Any questions?
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
The raid panic button's going good? That's all working well? Sweet.
Board communications, update from Honeywell.
Madam President, members of the board, Jessica's scheduled to be here, but we have her on travel in Arizona, so she couldn't make it. But what we want to share with you guys, I think Tim's our expert. He can tell you exactly what's going on. When we had Alvis done, we had a different subcontractor that basically followed what was already there and pulled everything through what was already there, so it was never an issue of disturbing asbestos or whatever else. Now, because these guys got tied up, they're pretty busy, now we got a different subcontractor, and these guys right away needed to see about the asbestos and so forth. So I'll let Tim explain where we're at and where we're going.
Yes, so the high school facility, initially Broken Arrow is the name of the electrical company that was supposed to run, because they were gonna do the same thing here, just follow the existing electrical lines Well, unfortunately, they were so swamped with work, they can't come. So Honeywell had to get another subcontractor, as Mr. Marassi said. They came and walked the site, and they decided to run things in a different route. So that requires, we have to make them aware that we have asbestos in our buildings, because they're gonna be drilling holes and going into flooring, totally different than what the first initial contractor was gonna do. So that kind of put us a bump in the road that we have to get everything tested where they're gonna be working, because they're gonna be drilling through walls in a different area.
Sounds more expensive, is that what?
It's gonna add a little bit of cost, which the district's having to pay for that. It's not in Honeywell's contract, so it's not very expensive. So it's best to get it tested, because we have to do a 3-year re-inspection on all of that stuff as well. So that hopefully will come into play.
I mean, it stinks that it might delay it, but come on, I mean, I think that that's probably important.
Yeah, it's important.
I mean,
I think the big issue that we were pushed for time was to encumber that money,
Yeah.
but with, them figuring out how we can do it, then we have a little more time, so we're not, pressure's not as bad as it was before, but yeah, it's, unfortunately, those are things that happen, and we have to make sure that everybody's safe. So, do you know, as Cassie,
Sissy.
Sissy, has she said when she's gonna come?
She's hoping to get here next week. So, we were hoping to get her this week, but the way the process is to process your POs, the POs that we gotta do is, well, hold up. But we'll it'll get done.
Just, like I said, Jessica was supposed to be here, but she, got pulled over to Arizona, so she couldn't. So, that's where we're at.
and 2 steps forward, 10 steps back is not uncommon or unheard of here. I mean, we know. Yeah, and kind of where we're looking too, because. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board communication, just since there's nothing to act on. Can we get accountant who's going to be able to attend the regional meeting?
Is it the October?
Yeah, I know you can.
Just you two.
Just us two, you can't.
Sorry. Thank you, Tim.
Thank
you, Tim.
Okay, financial matters, consideration approval of financial reports.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. I presented to you, me and Marie, I presented to you the financial reports for August. And as you can see on the summary page, I highlighted some of the major expenses throughout the month. And I added the Dragonfly on there. I didn't know if that was a super big expense, but we kind of got that figured out. Mr. Howard helped me a lot with that, so we got that taken care of. And then jumping over to you guys asked me last month about these secretaries.
Remind us what Dragonfly is?
It is.
Oh, sorry, it's the athletics to pay the.
You took over our referees. and paid for that.
Oh, okay. I was like, man, what the heck's Dragon?
Sorry about that, I should explain that more.
That's all right.
And then jumping over to the secretaries, they're on a 200-day calendar. And as you can see on here, we have 1 employee. I don't know if you could see it, still left of the salary, where the 0, 1, and then the rest of the zeros. We have 1 secretary making $25,214, and she has been, it's her first year or 1 year of experience. And then we have 1 8 years of experience for $28,391, and then we have 1 11 years of experience for $28,399. So you guys asked for the increase last month. So if we did the increase for 3%, the district would pay $84,464, and then for the 4% increase, it'd be $85,284. So I think that's definitely affordable, but we would definitely have keep going forward. Like, once we made that, if we made it now, we have to keep it going every year.
Right.
We can't go back. So you guys have any questions on this?
You're talking about salaries here, but, and so then we're gonna have a separate discussion about the benefits, right?
Oh, yes, it's in here too.
So are we, remind me, so is this salaries for certain staff members or,
For the
Secretaries.
secretaries.
okay, secretaries only,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Because of the amount of days.
Because they're on a 200 day
Okay.
contract, and,
I saw it.
and so everybody else is usually on a 180, and then we
Right.
usually pay them for,
Oh,
their daily rate for the extra days. But for some reason, they're on a 200 day contract, so in looking at what it would be their daily rate, I think that's how you guys figured out. If we just gave them the additional for the daily rates, for a 200 day contract, it's the same purpose.
Are we not voting on that today?
I didn't have it on the agenda, no. I don't know if we can amend it to the other one, or we can have a special board meeting to get that done. Because I don't
Because we
know,
want that to start in October, right?
could we amend that deal with, if we approve the one for the benefits, amend it to include this?
But we've already approved the agenda, right? Can we do that?
I'm saying when you make the motion, I don't know.
Because we're talking about benefits there, can we add the increase for the secretaries? On item A, action items?
I have a quick question real quick. It seems like there's a big discrepancy between 11 years of like being a secretary and being year one of the secretary. I feel like that needs to be addressed.
That's the state mandated starting salary.
That's crazy though,
I know.
because you don't get like rewarded for putting in all those years of
That's
like
ridiculous.
CHS.
It only goes up
Well, this is disheartening to me.
$4,000 for 10 years of your service. That's ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
It is
What can we
horrible.
do about that, to fix that?
I feel like
That was
4%
the
is
increase,
just
that
a
was
little,
Is there like something we can do every year to people that like, I mean, is that even affordable?
I think, isn't there, and I don't know, but isn't there a way that you increase that base salary and then it would increase on here the salary schedule, like if, I don't
Well,
know, I'm seeing the base salary is 24,480, right?
So you gotta build your salary schedules based on
Your budget.
funding that they give you. So they're gonna fund you for however many values you have, unit value that you have. So you have to work within that, with whatever it is. And so if you raise it here at the district, they're not gonna fund that for you unless they say this year we're gonna have a 4% raise and the legislature approves it, then they fund it. But if it doesn't happen that way, we're gonna have, we'd still have to work within the budget they give us, and it's something that would then come more out of operation.
I feel like we gotta do something about that.
Well, okay, so that's why I said, like, these, okay, so this is their salary, and then their insurance was
6%
tied to-
higher or whatever.
Right, so they're losing money.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this is not, I mean,
so when you present the one for the benefits, you'll see how we can actually go, I think it's 5% instead of just 4%, to pay more towards the insurance premiums, which was, what we wanted, or at least that's what I thought wanted to be offset, was the insurance premiums, because, we were still gonna be short 4% after we gave it 3, and then the state had given a 3, and so it was gonna be 6 they gave, but then it was gonna be 4, that they would have because it was at 14, but then the state moved it down to 10. So our goal was to try to get to a point where we picked up the premium so they wouldn't have to pay any additional, percentage.
so adding benefit percentage helps because they don't have to pay the tax.
Right, I agree, but that's for
So-
everybody, but that doesn't change the fact that like someone's done 11 years and
Right.
someone's done 1 year, and they basically make the
So,
same amount of money, that's
I,
crazy.
and this is not even there's other staff members that we need to look at, I feel like, the salary schedule across the board. Because, and we have to remember that come budget time, because this is, I mean,
There should be like an upside for like years of service and being like loyal to your district and like that, I feel like is a really big deal.
So when spring budget comes around and we have those budget committee meetings, that's when we bring it all up to Zach and tell him what our wishes are, so then he can go back. And when building the budget, he can put that in and see where we're at with what we have.
Write that down, amigo. We're gonna work on that one.
I look at that every day, it disgusts me every day looking at it.
Yeah, that's so frustrating.
It is.
But it still has to be within the parameters of what they do.
Yes, sir. Pretty close.
but we're talking about one, two, three,
I mean, you're only as good
four,
as your
four
secretary.
employees right here. I
You know what I
mean,
mean? It's a big deal.
Well, three, because Kaiser Junior High has one secretary.
Yeah, we don't have
That's true.
Doing
So
two
there's
jobs.
Office Kaiser Junior High now.
Yeah.
and then we have to look at cafeteria and custodian, and, I mean, it's,
You do have to remember the custodians and like Jim, Paul, at one point there, they had them on schedule for 250 days. And I brought it to you guys and we cut it down to
Yes.
240, and their salary stayed where it was. So they, in district, they got like 10 free days. So, I mean, but yeah,
but I'm saying to retain these people, I mean, they, yeah.
just, like I say, just keep in mind that you have to work within what we're given.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and even then, you don't know what you're gonna be given till what, 6 days before we start or whatever, the ridiculous thing is?
Well, it all depends on when we get stuff done. This last year was rough because of the 80-day lawsuit. And so it ran, hopefully things will run a lot smoother, and spring budget is, I think, in April sometime, and then that's when we can get things done and get it done more in a timely manner. This year was a mess.
So Mike said we can amend the motion when we get under the action items.
We can do that?
Would you wanna do both of them? Or, because I have like the benefit part of it too as well?
Yeah, so when we get to that, under action items,
Okay.
we're gonna put it together. So we'll let Mike, Mike.
And then we'll skip to the staff benefits participation and cost page. And then for staff participating in benefits, we have 46 out of the 83 total staff. And then for the first section, we pay 80% at the moment, and the employee pays 20. And then we pay 70 and 30 and 60 and then 40. But we are trying to move it, get to you guys with moving it for the people who make under 50,000, for them to only pay 10% of the monthly insurance, and we pay 90 as the employer. So that would help out on the cost as well.
Right.
So for the annual increase on that for the medical would be 17,426 if we took that 10% from it.
That's not bad at all.
Only
That's so
1452 a
doable.
month.
That's great.
That's
Sweet.
definitely doable.
Great job figuring that out.
Well, Maria's she's a lot of help.
That's up, you
And
guys are
they're
doing
not gonna
great.
be taxed on that.
That's another thing.
They're not gonna be taxed on that?
No,
Oh,
because that's a
wait.
benefit. So they're not gonna spend your.
So it's not like we give someone a $400 raise and they see their check every month and
Let's
it's
just pay
50 bucks
everybody
more.
in benefits
Right.
then.
So,
My checks are exactly the same as they were last year after this insurance increase. Almost exactly.
Man, I know employees that lost money,
Yeah.
that are going to lose money.
That's insane.
And they're on that, I mean, they're,
Yeah.
it's,
and then Maria was telling me about the other districts, they don't really worry about the people that are 50 and above or 60 and above, because the increase doesn't impact them as much as the people that are under 50. And it would cost the district a lot more if we shaved off 10% of them. It wouldn't really be fair to the people that make under 50,000 if we shaved off the people that make over 60 as well.
right.
So,
And two, it's those under 50 that we're really trying to retain. paying.
Right.
Right,
And
yeah.
the other ones who's,
For sure.
not that everybody's not working, but
They
I
can
mean, I'm
easily
just
get
saying,
paid better somewhere else.
that's not even living.
Right.
They could work somewhere else.
Exactly.
For sure.
Not have the best hours that we do, but yes, they could
Right.
work somewhere else, just not be up with our kids.
Okay.
And then for the comparison from prior year and current year benefits, payments and salaries, I put that one on there for you guys, right? Okay. And then for the salary 60,000 and above, Maria just grabbed an employee, no names on here, just an employee that was in that plan for the high option. So the first one is Blue Cross Blue Shield. So a person over 59,000 is considered in 60 and above. So we did for single 76,000 is their salary for fiscal year 24, and the premium was 344. And fiscal year 25, so this year their salary went up to 78,000, and their monthly premium was $405. So the salary increase was 2,283, while the premium increase was only 6182. If that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does. So like that's not a huge chunk of change compared to the 2,000 they got increase for. So then down to the 30/70, and these are for the people right just under 60,000 but above 50,000. Their monthly premium for last year was $208.72, and then for this year it's $246. But their salary increase was $1,576, so their premium increase was only $37.50 from the previous year. And then for the 20/80, these are the people that we're trying to get to the 1090, where we cover 90. For fiscal year 24, their monthly premium was $172, and then for fiscal year 25 went up to $203, and they only got an increase of $763 on their salary. So that $30 increase a month is it's crucial. That's a big hit for the smaller salary people.
Right, who needs the most?
Yeah.
And that's who needs it the most.
For sure.
Yeah, we gotta fix that.
Okay, thank you so much. That was,
Great job, that was
is
very
a
helpful.
great- Yes, it is, and a great visual.
Guys have any more questions?
You nailed it. Thanks for explaining it all to us.
Yes, sir.
We're on financial reports.
Madam President, I move that we approve the financial report. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the financial reports. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Financial reports have been approved. Consideration approval of bars and transfers.
There's none.
No, yeah.
There's none?
Going to action item A, consideration and approval of increasing school district portion of employees' insurance premium. And
Madam President,
do we need to put that employees under 50,000, do we need to specify that?
Probably wouldn't hurt.
I think we should.
I don't think it'd be an issue. Did do it.
okay, Madam President, I move to amend the motion, action item A, which reads as of now. Consideration and approval of increase to school district's portion of employees' insurance policy. I would like to amend that by adding.
Amend portion of employees.
Okay, to, after employees to put under $50,000 insurance premium,
Need a pen?
and to add the salary increase for secretaries to account for their extra days.
Nailed it.
So that the motion will read, consideration and approval of increasing school district portion of employees under $50,000 and insurance premiums and a salary increase for secretaries to account for their extra days. Yep.
Second.
Great job. We need to say,
Okay,
I did,
so it's been
I
moved
didn't
and,
put anything in there about the percent.
we need to put the percent.
okay, yeah, because we need to choose 3 or 4
For,
for the,
So we gotta make another motion.
no, we'll just,
no,
Amend it.
okay. First, we gotta pass this one.
okay,
Second.
she seconded it.
Okay.
Okay, so moved and seconded to approve the increase, to increase school district portion of employees, making under 50,000, their insurance premium, and a salary increase for secretaries to count for their extra days. Is that right?
Yep.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion has passed.
The amendment is
The amendment has passed.
Okay, Madam Secretary, after a little discussion, I move, or Madam President,
I feel like.
I was just reading it.
Demote?
Madam President, I move to amend the amended motion by adding, and secretaries increase of 4% for secretaries.
salary increase of 4% to secretaries?
Yeah, for the secretaries.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. to
Who seconded
amend-
it?
The amended motion.
To amend the amended motion
I'm sorry.
of the increase of school district portion of employees of 50,000, insurance premiums and salary increase of 4% for secretaries to account for their extra days. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Do I need to repeat that? You got it?
I got it.
Okay.
Now we need a motion for that.
Now we need a motion, yes.
To approve the amended.
Jana,
Great job, Jenna.
okay.
Read it again, Mike.
Madam President, I move that we approve, an increase to school district portion of employees under 50,000 insurance premium and the salary increase of 4% for secretaries to account for their base.
I second.
All right.
That's easy.
All right, it's been
You're
moved.
killing it, bro. Killing
It's
it.
been moved and seconded to approve the increase of school district portion of employees making under 50,000, increase their insurance premium, and salary increase of 4% for secretaries to count for extra days.
I second. Already did second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Okay, let's go, guys.
Neato. Great job, Mike.
Moving to B, consideration approval of schools 90-day.
Madam President, members of the board, I would, like for you to consider tabling this item either for a special board meeting, or if you're okay, for the October meeting, where we are not quite done with them, with all the events that are going on and so forth, but, it's up to you guys if they're not ready.
When does it have to be done?
We should have already had them done, because we usually do them right with the plan and so forth, but I have waited for my new administrators to get into the areas that they were gonna be in, so that they can,
But I mean, is there a deadline that you
No.
have to meet?
no, not necessarily, but
Okay.
whatever.
Madam President, I move that we table the consideration and approval of schools 90-day plans.
Been moved and seconded to table the consideration and approval of schools 90-day plan. Any discussion?
Madam President, are we gonna table it to the next meeting,
You
or?
cannot, cannot
Can't
go
say.
to a specific time date.
Okay.
You just take it off and.
We'll just talk about that when we do the agenda.
Okay.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so we'll table 19 plan. Action item C, consideration approval of fiscal year 2025 PSCOC funding program application. That's what we're doing.
Madam President, so I put applications on there because I didn't know if we were gonna, do what you guys were talking about before. But the one I do have ready to go is the one for the fire panels at the junior high. And so that's, since I'm thinking that we're gonna take our time to plan better for the other one, for the bigger one, this should just be the one application, so I'm asking you to approve, the application for the fire panels at the junior high.
Can we just approve this and then it's done for later?
Or what?
For the other whatever the other application is?
I mean, they kinda laid it out that they wanted us, that they wanted you guys to plan out what you guys wanted to do.
But we're just approving an application.
I mean, when would you want me to,
Well, no, I'm just saying,
I don't think there's a time.
we're just
frame on
approving
that.
the application, we're not saying when,
Okay.
right? What do you think? I mean, would that be easier so that we don't have to come back and do it again?
I think so. We know we're gonna do some applications.
Might be the application of the lipstick.
Flying of the warning.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that makes sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah, there's no time,
Right?
there's no time limit in the motion.
I think that, but I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but they said like we had to have a specific thing that we're doing before we get the application together, would this help us, or anything with that?
So this
Well,
one,
it is a
this one you're
specific
saying
case
is
for
for
the
the
fire
fire panels.
the one I'm talking about
I see
that I
what
have
you're
ready
saying.
to go
Okay.
is for the fire panel.
Let me get this clear, so we're not doing the PSCOC.
Yes, we have to go to
So
the
but
There's
it's
two
just
applications.
specifically for.
fire panels, that's
Okay,
right.
Madam
not doing-
President, I move to amend the motion to consider an approval of FY 2025 2025 PSCOC funding program application by inserting after PSCOC fire panel funding program application.
You guys get the easy part, Mike and I get stuck with trying to. Okay,
I see what
it's been moved and seconded to amend item C to say consideration approval of fiscal year 2025 PSCOC for fire panel funding program application. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the amendment has passed. Now,
I need to vote on the motion.
you have to make a motion.
Madam President, I move that we approve the amended motion so that we approve the FYI 2025 PSCOC fire panel funding program applications.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the fiscal year 2025 PSCOC fire panel funding program application. All those in favor, please say aye.
Right.
I'm
Great
not
job.
letting you discuss. Okay, Bobby. Aye. All right, the motion was passed. Did you get that, Cassie?
Yes.
Okay.
Great job, Cassie.
I know, she's quick. Okay, action item D, consideration and approval of donation transfer of salvage welding equipment to Moriarty School District. We did receive an email about that. I don't know if you all received that. I received an email about it. I can read you the email. Okay. This was from Mr. Gabe Doherty. He says, hello all, I hope your week is going well. It seems like this time of year is whirlwind. I was wondering if I could add an agenda item to next board meeting, which we did. The transfer of salvage welding equipment to Moriarty Edgewood School District. I would like to do an inter-school transfer of salvage welding equipment that is taking up space in my shop. The removal of this equipment will, number one, make the Clayton Ag shop a safer working environment. Number two, maximize space for student instruction and independent projects. Three, let excess and salvage equipment be repurposed to aid in K-12 education in another New Mexico school district. So it's old equipment he's wanting to get rid of out of his shop and send it on to Moriarty Edgewood.
Madam President, I motion or move that we consider and approve the donation transfer of salvage welding equipment to Moriarty School District.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the donation and transfer of salvage welding equipment to Moriarty School District. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Right, the motion has passed. Salvage welding equipment will transfer donated to Moriarty School District. Items suggested for future meetings, I have the strategic plan.
Ready date plan?
Yes. Really big then.
I would like for us to do another climate survey at some point, and we put that on the agenda for next. We can talk to Tony or our law firm and figure out how we can do that to send it to us, send the results to us, like put it out as a board and send it back to us. I wanna do that if we could. It's up to y'all, but I would like to talk about that for our next meeting.
So do you want me to reach out to Tony and ask about?
Would that be good with y'all?
Yes.
So we can work on the wording and figure it all out and do it through the law firm?
Sounds good, I can reach out to him or you.
Cool.
Okay, and as always, let me know, okay? Okay. Item 11, executive session. A, pursuant to NMSA 1978, section 1215H2 pertaining to limited personnel matters, quarterly superintendent evaluation. Okay. I need a motion and a roll call, or a roll call.
Madam President, I move to go into executive session.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to move into executive session. Roll call, please.
Justin Wood, aye.
Doug Barnes, aye.
John Kennedy, aye.
Annalise, aye.
Kim Leo, aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys
Have a
so
great
much.
night. Thanks for being here.